Welcome to Shop Talk, where you give my honest opinion on current events, life, and sports. Let's get into it. NBA Finals Game 3 last night. I see the San Antonio Spurs won 115 to 111. Um, I think they kind of lost the game before it started, if you ask me. The guy, this horrible guy, he just has to be the center of attention, and he kind of took away from the excitement of the game. They stopped watch parties and everything. New York just have a great energy about itself right now as far as the team. And so people have been waiting for this moment for, I think it was 71 or 73 was the last time the Knicks won a championship. Phil Jackson was on the team at the time, so that tell you how long ago it was. Just have to be the center of attention, man. You seen questionable calls. That's kind of usual now in a sporting game. So, and you dealing with gamblers and stuff like that. So, can't really be too surprised with what's going on right now, as far as the sports gambling and stuff like that. But I was watching the game, and the play that kind of stuck out to me was the one where Wemby just kind of brushed Brunson aside like he was nothing. And I said, where's the enforcer for the Knicks? Every team that's been on a championship run, and they have a guy, he's going to use all 6 of his fouls. The Knicks need an enforcer. You can't have your best player being pushed around by the other team and nobody's coming to his aid. I don't know if it's going to be Cat. I don't know if it's going to be Mitchell Robinson. Someone has to step up and show Wemby, you're not going to do whatever you want, dude. I mean, to me, the guy game is, he's 7'4". You expect him to do that. But that guy needs work on his game. He really needs a lot of work on his game. The NBA letting him get away with a lot of things he shouldn't be doing. I think they got rid of 3 seconds. I said in the last series when they played Oklahoma City, I say the league must have got rid of 3 seconds. Maybe they don't call that no more. I hardly see backcourt violations nowadays. So maybe that's something they're going to look at in the offseason that they could put more emphasis on. He takes a long time to shoot free throws like he's Karl Malone or someone. So the NBA has to tighten up on a lot of things. But I'm happy for the New York Knicks being in this position, and the wrong kind of energy could tank everything. It was like an Epstein Island reunion. You had him, Jay, Lucknick, Robert Kraft. I saw the woman for SVU. I said, oh, man, this would be a perfect time to set up the cameras and start filming, because the pedophiles are right there in the arena. And so, he can't run the world, run the country in the ground, because this world is ran by evil people that have empires that is collapsing in real time. And so the rest of the world has to suffer because these people are going out, and they're not going out with a bang. So, we hearing the Democrats keep screaming about midterms and all this stuff here. Man, y'all all are complicit. This is how they make their money. They really not for the people. Politics has become into a game where it's monetary game right now. You bump elbows with a certain kind of people, with the Israelis. You have to be pro-Israel to actually be the president of the United States, because they have so much blackmail on politicians. And so people wonder, when is this war going to end? When Netanyahu wants it to. Netanyahu have so much blackmail on this guy, and so many other politicians that like to mess with kids. You seeing the discourse online every day about Jay. Like, man, you manipulated us all, man. It still bothers people that you really associated yourself with these kind of people. We just really had to take the blindfold off. You know, that's the main thing. Taking the blindfold off and realizing who we up against. You know, they come off as pro-black, but you saw who he was front row with. The Island Boys. Oh man, we back like old times. Back just like old times. You know, look at Adam Silver last night. Oh man, he's this, he's that, with a diversity. Man, y'all don't care nothing about black people, man. Y'all treat us like cattle. You know, you think about, where would entertainment be without black people? They treat us just like cattle. And fast as we have a child, you know, we looking at them the intergenerational curse in our families. You know, all they look at us is cattle. You know, I think about last week, Myles Garrett got traded to the Rams. You know, it was just like you bought a high price slave. They giggling and they jolly and stuff like that. You know, that's how they treat us. Ain't nothing really changed. They just able to pay us now. It's still the same. Ain't nothing really changed. You know, you got guys want to come out of retirement and stuff like this. And then you got the coons. They got the coons everywhere. You know, and it seemed like a dude had to put him in Stephen A. in his place last night, told him, you got a low IQ. You know, that's how they think about us anyway, when they're the most horrible people on this earth. Barbaric. Can't live in harmony, can't live in peace. It's truly impossible. But it's something gotta give. That's how I look at it. Something gotta give. You know, this whole world with black people are that. So something has to give. But I'm looking forward to the Knicks to try to bounce back in this next game. I'm thinking how they do with the finals. I think the next two by the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. So I know they had changed the format a few years ago. So the Knicks could still get this in 5 or 6. Like I said, I see the Knicks winning this series. I don't know if it's the lights or whatever, but the Knicks are ready. Maybe they had a few things didn't go their way in the game, but you tighten up on certain ends and you make your adjustments along the way. But someone has to be the enforcer for the New York Knicks. You know, this guy too comfortable. You already know you keep him out that paint. He's really kind of useless. Cat is actually out playing him in this series. You know, I don't know. I didn't really look at the stats too much. I looked at the game. I'm gonna say some of the highlights and the score. But I know Cat been out playing him in this series. You know, he's being exposed. And so, like I said, he has a lot that needs to be polished in this game. No face-up game. He falls in love with the jumper a lot. He keep forgetting, you're the biggest person on the floor. You're 7'4". You should be in the paint. But that's the reason why he's not in the paint as well. Because, I mean, he's not really a banger. He's thin. So, you know, you put your elbow in his back, he's not even going to go nowhere. So, it's a lot he has to work on. You know, I think he worked out with Hakeem, if I'm not mistaken. He was working out with his ball handling with Jamal Crawford, one of the best 6-man players ever to come into the league. So it's like, man, these guys are 7'4", and you more concerned about handling the ball, shooting 3-point and stuff like that, instead of dominating on a block where you should be at. You should have a face-up game. You should have been working with Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan had one of the best face-up games in the league ever. One of the greatest power forwards of all time. And so I'm not understanding why you're not working with a guy like that. I'm pretty sure he is, but I don't know why he was dibbling and dabbling with stuff like that. This endless walk. Gas is through the roof. People falling in love with I think it's the new jobs report that came out last week. And so they're saying, oh, it's good. Always say the reason people could say it's good because you don't know the percentage of that has livable wages. So it's easy to say that's a good jobs report. We haven't seen nothing. You're talking about people that cooks the books all the time. So now you're at the stage where now you're starting to believe these people now with a jobs report. And so it's I'm not really surprised by nothing anymore. Especially you look at the verdict last week with the young man in South Carolina, 14-year-old. You know, now there's a boycott Asian businesses. You know, you got people jumping on the internet saying, "Oh, we don't need y'all." Cool. Black people spend 2.7 trillion a year. Our biggest issue is we don't spend it with each other. Maybe this is a turning point. You know, because the last time, we really didn't really need nobody. They burnt everything down with the Tulsa massacre. With black people had over 600 businesses. You had banks. You had everything you needed. The dollar stayed in the community for days at a time. And so, that's the thing. People say, y'all don't have none. Yeah, because y'all burn everything down. You burn everything down. You kill all the leaders. The CIA was created in like 1948 or 49. Their main goal is to make sure there's never a black messiah. So it's a conscious effort all across the nation. Make sure they don't ever be in control. You think about the advanced technology, they're trying to control that because that's something they're not in control of. Just show you how evil these people are. And they'll sacrifice the poor whites. They don't care. This guy's still in court asking the judge to not feed people. I'm not understanding the courts, but the Constitution ain't nothing but a piece of paper. The Constitution is been torn up. It ain't nothing but a piece of paper. They don't listen to nothing. You barely can stop bringing dogs in the store. You think they're going to start listening to a piece of paper? So they get worse and worse because they're going extinct. So I can understand. I really can. I can understand the privilege that they have. Talk about white privilege. Look at Caitlin Clark. How she's carrying on. Every chance they get, they're going to show their privilege. That they seem to say it doesn't exist. You're disrespecting the coach, the players, and stuff like that. She had a decent game last night, a game winner. You can be a decent person, Kaylin, and still have privilege. You don't have no respect for the people that came before you. Obviously, they took turns on you a few weeks ago on defense. I think it's the Las Vegas team, not Las Vegas, the Valkyries. You're a liability on defense. You the James Harden of the WNBA. He just don't have all that extra stuff with him. But you can't guard a table. And so teams are scouting you. They're looking at the scouting report. They're saying to themselves, we know she can't play defense. All she is a bucket, if that. She's been struggling with her jump shot lately. So maybe it's the antics getting to her. You got to make a decision on who you really want to be. You can't get caught up in the hoop line and all that stuff. You got to put in the real work. If it's something you lacking, you got to work on that. The greats do that. Don't try to use your privilege to have certain accolades go your way. And now people even the people that have always been in your corner, they starting to say, man, she threw a lot of complaining. So I'm not shocked at all. That's the world we living in. So, but I'm looking forward to the Knicks winning this series and doing what they need to be to make their adjustment in the next few games. Try to get this series over with. Because last night was more of a spectacle. It took away from the game. They say the energy wasn't really in the building. You stopped all the watch parties. So you think about the eateries in that area. They took a loss last night. So hopefully he doesn't come to any more games, man. Let them guys focus and stop trying to be the center of attention. You know, these people been waiting a long time for that, and so that's the main thing. Don't take away from the people. Think about the lifelong fans that never seen the last time the Knicks was in the playoffs was in. I'm gonna say the NBA Finals was in 1999. It's Patrick Ewing, Marcus Camby, Latrell Sprewell. I think it was Allen Houston, Larry Johnson. They had a decent squad. They just ran into a rookie by the name of Tim Duncan. Yep, I remember Avery Johnson hitting a shot in the corner to win the big game. So it's a long time and people been looking to get him. So you sending them good vibes and stuff like that. Going forward, you really have to. I know they say this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's mental health awareness for everyone. Everybody going through. You know, if it ain't one thing, it's another. So you still have to be thankful for having a roof over your head, food to put in your mouth, clothes to put on your back, lights, everything you need, all your needs, not your wants. Right now is the time for our needs. And our needs haven't been met. And so it's no more trying to keep up with the Jones. You have to make a decision going forward. What you want your trajectory to be. You know, it's easy to be a part of the in crowd. Who want to step out? Who want to be an innovator? You know, trying to put our thinking caps on and figure out what we want to do going forward. We're more than conquerors. There's nothing we can't do. Nothing we can't do. Everything happens because of us. So, you know, this came through, and like I do every week, because I want to hear the news that I want to hear. There's too much watered down stuff going on. I'm still a fan of everybody's podcast, but it's too much stuff going on, too much negativity. You know, speaking of New York 50, man, it's time for you to get your son, my guy. Yeah, it's time for you to get your son. I mean, I know we all enjoy your antics and stuff like that, but your people, she embracing who she is, man. And so it's time for you to get your son, man. I'm pretty sure you rich as all outdoors. You're gonna be rich the rest of your life. You know, I think, you know, your son could say, okay, daddy, why you never came got me? You know, you want to live with that kind of resentment. So you need to make an adjustment as well, man. We can't just blame it all on the woman. Obviously, she's showing who she is. It's time for you to get your son, as well as a lot of men. If she not doing right by your child like you deem she should be, get a courts involved and see about getting custody. And stop making excuses, trying to make it seem like it's always the mama. Maybe she done checked out. You know, maybe she has. You know, if one parent is lacking, the other one has to pick up the slack. So let's stop making excuses. You're a rich man. You know, you're not working on 9 to 5. Make a difference in your son's life. Get your son and raise him, man. Father's Day be next week. That's one day. You still got another 364 days. So going forward, you know, just want to keep being thankful and spreading positivity. That's the main thing. Let's spread positivity. We won't always have to be ugly towards one another, and some compassion, because we don't know what someone is going through. You know, you go up and down the timeline, people dying of sicknesses and diseases and everything. You know, just you don't see too many natural causes. You know, so we don't know what someone is going through, so let's try to show some compassion. Blogging out, like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube at Shop Talk 84. On X at contact_CO, that's KONTACK underscore CEO. On Instagram as well, that's contact underscore CEO. That's KONTACK underscore CO. And until next time.